my wizards? It's Dev in front of the tree appropriate leaf for an Elves deck today. Haven't done one of those in a while, but I do love doing Elves in the standard. It's super awesome. Today, we're just jamming all the colors into it, save for one. We're doing 4-color Elves today. That opens up a ton of options. Check it out. Well, 4-color Elves. We're playing every color except for blue in this deck. That opens us up to Atarka's command and Dromoka's command and Rally the Ancestors, which is really good, by the way, with Shaman of the Pack. So it's just and Dwynen's Elite. There's a lot of awesome stuff we can do with Rally in this deck. Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you about the creatures. They're all Elves in this Elves deck. That makes sense. We're going to play 2 copies of Gnarlroot Trapper. To start it off, I wasn't even going to play Trapper. We were playing 4 colors, so that decreases the chances of us getting black mana on the first turn reliably, untapped. But the way we've done the lands here, we can get 9 ways. There's 9 ways of getting untapped black mana on the first turn, and Gnarlroot Trapper is sort of that important. Not only is that, tapping to give an elf death touch thing actually super relevant, allowing us to attack into bigger creatures, sort of more boldly. That's cool. They have to fear the death touch. And honestly, just tapping for the mana, even though we can only play Elves with it, is really, really good. It allows us cool things like turn 3, we can play any 2-drop elf using his ability and still have mana open for an Atarka's command or a Dromoka's command. And on turn 4, we can do really awesome plays with commands and Shaman of the Pack. Drop a Shaman of the Pack and then play either of your commands, and you can do really blowout stuff just on turn 4. So Gnarlroot Trapper does prove to be pretty important. 4 copies of Dwynen's Elite in the deck. One of the best green 2-drops in the format where you can get it to work. I'm serious. Just the other day I was making the green Stompy budget thing, and there's a lot of interesting green 2-drops in the format, but they're all just solid. None of them excel, but when you can get Dwynen's Elite to work, it definitely excels, allowing us to go a little wide. That's important. Good for Shaman of the Pack, it's an extra elf for that. There's a lot of reasons, and collected companies in the deck, Rally the Ancestors, that enter the battlefield effect gets really, really good, So Dwynen's Elite really works in this deck. Just definitely the best 2-drop available to us. 4 copies of Elvish Visionary, the other amazing green 2-drop elf in the format, It looks a little bit weak, but being able to draw that card is actually super important. We draw a cycle through our deck a little bit faster. That's especially good considering we're playing 4 colors, We can not only, that helps us fix our mana quicker, cycle through the mana quicker, or we can just draw more important elves or even into commands, Drawing a card in a deck like this is incredibly important. A replacement effect, and you get a creature, which is usually a blocker. But with Atarka's command and Dwynen in the deck, we get buffs and stuff like that. So even a 1/1 can get formidable after a while. And just having him out for Shaman of the Pack is really good too. 2 copies of Leaf Gilder in the deck. Definitely not the most important 2-drop elf we can play. There's 2 that outdo it, definitely. But it can, it's a 2-powered guy for 2 mana. That's exactly where we want to be as far as curve goes. And it can allow, just like Gnarlroot Trapper, it can allow for really good plays on turn 3 and turn 4 with Shaman of the Pack and commands and stuff like that. So yeah, the acceleration is important and the power is important. It's good to play at least 2 of these. 4 copies of Shaman of the Pack, key card for the deck. Probably the most important elf we play in the deck. Probably the most important elf in Standard. We'll get to her in a second. But definitely the most important elf we play. Just the centerpiece of the deck. It's what everything sort of works around, Turn 1 Trapper, turn 2 Elite, turn 3 this. You're dealing 4 damage. And it's 3 mana for 3 power. That also is exactly where we want to be. So everything about Shaman of the Pack and gets really, really good with Collected Company. And with Rally the Ancestors. You can sometimes deal 5-6 damage with Rally the Ancestors. Especially when you rally and you get like Dwynen's Elites and this back, it can get ugly pretty quick. Here's the most important elf in Standard. 2 copies of Nissa, Vasquid Seer, and this gets crazy, right? Like, honestly, you play her on curve, that's fine. It produces, stability for us. Thins our deck by a card, allowing us to draw, more important spells and elves by a little bit. That is an important consideration. And it just helps us smooth out, the curve, gives us a 4-drop land. Can be very important in this deck. Not only because we want to play Dwynen, but on turn 4 we want to be able to play like a 2-drop elf and a command. That's important that we're able to do that too. So anything that smooths the curve out is good. And after you flip her, this deck really loves the card advantage that she provides. Or just a big, reliable beater that's renewable if he dies. So, and the ultimate ain't half bad either. We're playing a lot of lands in the deck, so that can be pretty freaking sweet. 2 copies of Dwynen, Guildleaf Dane. I wasn't playing any Dwynen, when I first started. Crept up to 1. A lot of Elves decks don't play that many Dwynen nowadays, especially when they play things like Rally and especially Collected Company, because you can't hit this off of Collected Company. But at the end of the day, I think it is really important. I like the life gain, and I love the buff established by it. This buff on top of the Atarka's command buff can just be devastating on attacks, you know. And just Dwynen is solid. You know, reach is important because it allows this card to block a Mana Rider profitably, and any Hangerback Walker tokens. I think there's a lot of reasons to play Dwynen, especially since nowadays Stoke the Flames isn't in the format, and that's the card that really just crushed this thing, you know. And people aren't playing so many roasts anymore, so I think there's a lot of reasons to play Dwynen in this format where we didn't necessarily before. The buff is just really, really good on top of other buffs. 15 spells in the deck. I'm going to go ahead and tell you about the commands first. I think they're the most valid reasons to branch out into the other colors here. So, 4 copies of Atarka's command, and then 4 copies of Dromoka's command in the deck here. Atarka's command is especially good. It allows, even on the second turn, it's fine. Drop a land, that's ramp, and deal 3 damage to them. That sets a good precedent. I hope you have better second turn plays than that. Play enough. But in any case, especially good turn 3, 4, 5 plays even. Even into turn 6 and 7, the card is ridiculous, you know. An especially good play that's available to us, and easy to do, we're playing 4 of most of these cards, is turn 1 Trapper, turn 2 Elite, turn 3 Elite, turn 4 Shaman of the Pack, and a turn also along with Atarka's command. But aside from that, Atarka's command can be really good just for dealing damage to them. Bye, Igby, I love you. Dealing some damage to them and just huge buffs to our creatures. Sometimes they can't gain life can be important, and dropping a land can ramp us if we need it to. So Atarka's command does all the things. As far as Dromoka's command goes, it's effectively removal, and it's really good against Silkwraps and Stasis Snare in this format right now too. And we see Jeskai Ascendancy sometimes. There's a lot of targets for this right now. And even the anti-burn mode on it can be fine too. But mostly, we're looking to remove creatures with this, and the fact that it leaves the counter on there can be really important. 4 copies of Collected Company in the deck, and then 2 copies of Rally the Ancestors. I don't want to draw Rally all day long, and we have to have the white mana to support it. I think we're making something like 10 white in the deck, so it's better that we play Rally late game. So let's not play the 3 or 4, let's just play the 2 copies of it. But really, really good with all the enter the battlefield effects in the deck. Something like 14 out of our 20 elves have into the battlefield triggers. So if we're able to Collected Company them into play, or Rally the Ancestors them into play, then we're going to get a lot of extra effects, including damage, extra creatures, and stuff like that. So really, really important we play both of these cards right here. Especially Collected Company can be a super bomb, and they're both instant speed, so we can do tricksy stuff with them. 1 copy of Murderous Cut to finish off the main deck here. I just had an open card slot here, and I played some removal, you know. We're playing a lot of fetch lands to achieve those 4 colors, efficiently. And we got a lot of small creatures, we got a lot of commands. Stuff's going to end up in the graveyard, so I figured Murderous Cut would be a pretty good call. Although I thought about, this Force Mage, another good enter the battlefield trigger there. And I also thought about a 3rd Rally the Ancestors. Wouldn't mind that. So this is a flexible slot. I opted for removal. 25 lands in the deck. What we're doing here is playing as few lands as possible while still allowing us to play 4 colors efficiently. And, we have to play a couple extra lands for Nissa's benefit too, so we can flip her more easily. We could play Shambling Venom or Caves of Koilos. I just wanted more ways of producing untapped black on the first turn. Here's our sideboard here, pretty cut and dry. Wild Slash is a pretty good option, not only against other aggro decks, but also a way to go to the face. We can effectively turn this into a burn deck with like Shaman of the Pack and Wild Slash and Atarka's Command if we want to, that's fine. We're playing 2 copies of Duress against Control, get some important cards out of their hand pretty early game so that we can do our thing, especially Master Move, we'll get that out of there. Silkwraps we're playing 2 copies of because we want to take care of some important creatures in this format. Namely, Mana Rider is good against us until we play our Dwynen. And then, obviously, Anafenza is a really good card in the format, too. The 3 copies of Crackling Doom, I just figured, we're playing these colors, this is a really important card in these colors, so let's play Crackling Doom. That made sense to me. Kolaghan's Command is in there, so we can get some important elves back. That's good. Enter the battlefield triggers are always good. Of course, they go to our hand, but all of our stuff is cheap. We can play at the same turn more often than not. And it helps us, kill small creatures, and it's more burn. That's cool, too. Sylvan Messenger is in there to help us sort of recover against Master Removal. That's good. And fill our hand with a lot of, enter the battlefield triggers again. That can be good, too. And then just another copy of Murderous Cut, supplementary removal. I could actually see another Silkwraps over this possibly. But we're putting a lot of stuff in the graveyard. I like Murderous Cut. Here are your power rankings. A final score of 65 points, which is pretty much where we want to be. 65 ain't half bad. We do a lot of stuff really well, and we don't do anything terribly. We've got some defensive options, lots of bomb defensive plays in the deck. We come out of nowhere a lot of the time, which is really cool, really volatile deck, And this is not a deck that they've seen every day. Once you drop the white source for Dromoka's command, or you drop the black or the red source for something like Atarka's command, you may not see that coming. All told, the deck will cost you anywhere between $240 and about $370. Low prices to median prices on TCG Player. The sideboard will cost you like $30 to $50, so you're out of here for anywhere between $3 and like $400. Not bad at all. At the end of the day, we're playing a lot of decks in Standard that are anywhere between like $700 and $1,000. That's all I've got for now. Let me know how you feel about this one in the comments. I love Elves decks. I've been making them for a while in this format, and this one is my favorite one so far. What are we doing next time? Well, I've got a sort of red-blue tokens deck that I'm tinkering with. I'm still doing Cynic Beats. That's an important deck too. And let me know what else you want to see. I've got a lot of stuff on the horizon, and spoilers are coming up, and I get to make decks with those cards too. So subscribe if you're new, or if you just haven't done that yet. I'd really appreciate that. And hit the thumbs up button. That's always appreciated because it does so much for us. I'm Devin from SBNTG. This is Ziggy. That was Zigby. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, my wizards.